Today we are going to learn about the 4 types of writing. Now, anything and everything that you write can be organized into one of 4 different types of writing, which I have defined on the board behind me. Now, we are going to start over here. Now, when it comes to writing, the very first style, it involves us gathering, recording, verifying, and reporting on information of public interest, which is important to take into mind. What is being gathered, recorded, verified, and then reported back out must be of public interest. Any guesses? You got it. This is known as journalism writing. Journalistic writing we are most familiar with in the form of news. But it comes in many different ways. News can report on information, but it can also be investigative news. We also have journalism come in the form of reviews, like you've watched a movie and now you want to give your opinion, your interpretation of the information. But we also have it in the form of columns, like in magazines, where topics are of interest to a very small particular audience. Similar to feature writing, like when we write in a yearbook or on a school newspaper. But when you're thinking about journalism, of course we have our traditional concepts of what it means to gather, record, and verify, what a journalist looks like. However, you need to think about how it has transformed into the modern age. So, news isn't just in a newspaper anymore or on the evening news. You have to consider how all of this information comes in the form of different types of social media. NPR has their own Instagram that provides a lot of news and information, and then links to their website. But also when it comes to journalism, don't discredit things like podcasts. Are all podcasts journalism? No, it's one of these other 3. But in here we also have a biography, or the film version of a biography, a documentary. Now, there's many other different types of journalism, but think about when you are gathering information to then record it, take notes. You have to verify its validity, and then you report out on it. But it has to be of public interest. Otherwise, it doesn't fall into journalism. In fact, if it's not of public interest, maybe what you are writing is more of this second type of writing. Now, this type of writing is arguably the opposite of journalism. If it's of public interest, it's out there. If not, well, it's going to reflect on a topic from personal thoughts, opinions, or experiences. Might have given it away, but yep, you got it. This is known as personal writing. And when it comes to personal writing, this is when you write for you. It is not intended for anybody else. Could it potentially be shared for somebody else? Yes, definitely. But that is not the motivation behind this writing. So, yep, I heard it. A great example is a diary. Or as Greg Heffley says, a journal. It's intended for you. Same thing with the notes that you're currently writing. I'm not going to take them up and grade them. These are for you. But think about what else you write for yourself, like reminders, personal reminders of an appointment, or even motivational reminders. You are worth it. This means we can also include lists. A grocery list, a shopping list, a honey-do list, a to-do list, a to-get done, whatever your list, project list. All of those lists could be personal, which means recipes could also be personal. Grandma holds on to it until it is time to pass it down. Now, many people ask about biography or autobiography. When it's personal, a biography is journalism. Autobiography is technically journalism on yourself. So instead, when it's personal, you write a memoir, personal reflections of your memories, intended just for you. Now, I've also had students mention that this could be visual as well, like a scrapbook or a picture book, collage, but also like a will and testament. This might sound morbid, but it's not intended for anybody until, well, after you die. So, if you're writing for yourself, it is personal. Are these the only genres of personal writing? Absolutely not. But this takes us to our third type of writing. considered the hippie child of the writing world because it displays imagination and innovation. Arguably, there are no rules. Any guesses? You got it. This is known as creative writing. There are no rules until you start getting into those genres. Anything can be creative, but if your creative writing is intended to be poetry, it needs to meet the rules of a haiku, limerick, or sonnet. If you are writing a fairy tale, you need to make sure you are including the elements that a fairy tale would, once upon a time. This could also be a tall tale. This could be novels, any style of book. Short stories would fall into creative. What else might be creative? Well, if you're thinking about poetry, then you're going to have to make sure you consider songs, lyrics. Music is creative. It's just written in a different language than what we in America read. Let's see. I got a long list here. This could include advertisements. If we have songs up here, music videos are definitely valid. That means we could also include advertisements as creative writing. Fan fiction, dance, speech is creative writing. Like speeches that like politicians give. They're creative. We'll talk about more when we get to rhetorical analysis. Comic books, video games. All of these are telling a story. It's creative. Anything can be creative. In fact, if you have a type of writing that does not fit into one of these other 3 types of writing, then more than likely it's a genre of creative writing. But that takes us to our 4th and final type of writing. This is clear, focused, structured information supported by evidence. There's no leeway when it comes to this type. And this is what we are going to be writing in all semester long. This is known as academic writing. Now, you can see it a little bit in the definition, but this semester there are going to be very, very specific writing expectations that you are going to need to meet to ensure that what you submit is this style of writing. It meets the genre expectations of academic writing. Now, we will go over these in detail. There's 6 videos covering each of these 6 writing expectations. So for now, I'm just going to introduce them to you for your personal writing of note-taking. But in everything you write, you're going to need to make sure that it is polished, while also making sure you maintain the appropriate tone that we will discuss. Everything you write academically must meet a very particular format. It needs to be cohesive when it comes to the presentation of your information, which can be helped by writing via the very particular structure that we use. And of course, if you find yourself utilizing outside resources, you give that credit where credit is due. So this semester, we might dabble in some of the others here and there, but our focus is going to be the academic writing expectations. So, which of these 4 types of writing do you relate best to? Which one do you like to write best?